video from Creativo Solutions. You're currently watching the support videos to help you with the British International Distance College Maths module. I'm currently taking you through different assignment questions in order for you to see how one would approach these questions. Visit our website for more information and content and resources to help you. Consider following us on Instagram and Twitter, and keep watching the YouTube channel for more support. We are covering the maths assignment for the British International Distance College, and we are going to be looking at question number 13. So let's begin. Question number 13 states, a rectangular based open box has external dimensions of 2x centimeters, x plus 4 centimeters, and x plus 1 centimeter. So those are the external dimensions. They've actually drawn a sketch as part of the actual information. Then they say 1a, write down the volume of a cuboid with these dimensions. A2 says expand and simplify your answer. And then you've got a subsection here, B, which is the box is made from wood 1 centimeter thick. Write down the internal dimensions of the box in terms of x. And 2 says find the volume of the inside. So we're looking at a box that obviously has different dimensions, and we are then required to work out the external and internal dimensions, as well as the volume, which is the last question, which is number C, which indicates the volume of the wood, and they obviously want us to identify the equations for the actual box. Great, so now I'm going to start off by interpreting information. So I'm going to draw the rough sketch. We've obviously got a box that looks like this, and we've got 2x centimeters here. We've got x plus 4 here, centimeters, and the dimensions would be x plus 1 here, centimeters. So we've got the base, the width, and the height, and with that information we are then going to answer the questions. So the first question that we've been given here, A1, says write down the volume of a cuboid with these dimensions. It's a rectangular box and they want the volume. So how much space does this actual shape take up? It's a box, so we're going to have length times breadth times height. That's what we're going to be looking at. Length times breadth times height will give me volume, and that is what I'm asked to calculate. So length, I'm going to use 2x times breadth or width, which is x plus 4, in a bracket, remember it's multiplication, and then multiply by x plus 1. When having three terms like this, we're going to have to multiply out. So we're going to have to distribute these numbers into the bracket and then times the bracket by the bracket. So I'm going to start with multiplying 2x into x plus 4. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times plus 4 is 8x. Then I'm going to multiply that by x plus 1. So now I'm going to again times first with the first here, so 2x squared times x is 2x to the 3. 2x squared times 1 is plus 2x squared, plus 8x times x is 8x squared, and 8x times 1 is 8x. So that's what I've got currently. Is that what they wanted? They said write down the volume of a cuboid with these dimensions. And if I'm looking at the volume of this particular box, that would be the equation for the volume for this particular rectangular open box. Number 2 says expand and simplify your answer. So they want me to expand and simplify my answer. Well, then I could actually just write down this for number 1, which is basics, because they said write down the volume of a cuboid with these dimensions. Okay, so that's the volume equation. I would then write down this as the answer for number 1, because they said using those dimensions, so length times breadth times height. Then I'm looking at 1, 2, which would be this answer for expanding and simplifying the answer. So I've obviously multiplied out and I've simplified. I can go one step further because I can group those x squareds together. So I'm going to be landing up with 2 let's write that down again. 2x to the cubed, okay, plus 2x squared plus 8, which is 10. So 2 plus 8 is 10, so we need to rub that out. That needs to be a 10x squared. (10x squared) and plus 8x, and that would be the most simpler. And that would be the simplest answer that we could possibly get. So I'm going to leave it as is. What do we have next? Let's have a look. We've got B now. The box is made from wood 1 centimeter thick. So the wood, I'm going to just shade that portion in. Okay, that plank of wood is a centimeter thick. That's what they're telling us in the question. They say the box is made from wood 1 centimeter thick. Write down the internal dimensions of the box in terms of x. Write down the internal dimensions of the box in terms of x. So we're going to obviously remove what we have here, which would be the 1 centimeter, okay, across the board there. So if I'm looking at the actual box, the box has wood which is 1 centimeter thick. So I'm going to have to reduce the actual length by a centimeter in order to provide for it, because we're looking at the inside of the actual box. So the inside of the box is going to have an amount less the 1 centimeter on either side. So if we know the length here is 2x centimeters, there's obviously a 1 centimeter gap here and a 1 centimeter gap there, so on those two edges there. So the actual length is just going to be from that point to that point in terms of the internal dimensions of the box. And then the same thing would apply to this side in terms of x plus 4 being the breadth. There's going to be a 1 centimeter and 1 centimeter provision on either side. In terms of height, the same thing would apply. Well, it's an open box actually, so if it's an open box, there's no lid to the box, so you'll just have a base. So there'll only be a 1 centimeter provision at the bottom of the box. So let's provide for that in our second calculation, which is B. They said this was an open box, so there's no lid on the box. Number B1 says write down the internal dimensions of the box in terms of x. So internal dimensions of the box in terms of x. You could work out volume here. They said internal dimensions. Are they just referring to the actual length times breadth times height, or the length and the breadth times the height, or do they want us to find the volume? Well, if I look at question 2, they said find the volume of the inside of the box. So then that would be the actual volume calculation that we would have to do. So I'm going to start off by writing the internal dimensions. I'm going to actually draw a little sketch again, just so you can see the actual box. And we had the 2x, we had the x plus 4, and we had the x plus 1. So if I'm looking at the 1 centimeter thickness of the wood, for this particular length from there to there, I am going to have to provide for 1 centimeter on that side and 1 centimeter on that side. So it's going to be bracket 2x minus 1 close bracket times, then on this side I'm going to have the same thing, so that length to that length, and I'm providing for 1 centimeter on that side and 1 centimeter on this side. So that would be x plus 4 minus 1 times. Then I'm looking at the height. Well, it's an open box, So it's an open box, there's no lid here at the top, it's open, so you can actually see inside the box. So the only provision will be at the bottom for the base. We'd have to provide for 1 centimeter here in terms of the thickness of the base. So therefore I'm going to have x plus 1 minus 1, and I'm going to be multiplying all of that out. So that would be an expression for volume. They said write down the internal dimension of the box in terms of x. Well, that would be the internal dimensions in terms of the space that it occupies, length times breadth times height, internally, meaning I'm providing for the 1 centimeter thickness of the box on either side. Next step is to simplify, so I'm going to have 2x minus 2 here. I'm going to have x plus 4 minus 1 minus 1 plus 2, and I'm going to have times x. Obviously 1 plus, plus 1 minus 1 is 0, so this is going to be x there. So I'm going to have to multiply out. I'm going to start by multiplying the x into one of those brackets. I'm going to choose that one. So 2x minus 2 times x is x squared. 2 times x is 2x. Obviously a plus in the middle. Then I'm going to multiply these two terms out. So 2x times x squared is 2x to the 3. Then I'm going to have 2x times that, which would be plus 4x. Then minus 2 times x squared is minus 2x squared. Minus 2 times that would give you minus 4x. If I then simplify that one step further, I'm going to get 2 to the x3. Then I'm going to have, well, plus 4x minus 4x is 0, minus 2x to the 3. That's what I would indicate there. So if I'm looking at the volume, that will be the volume here simplified. Write down the internal dimension of the box in terms of x. So I've done that. I just need to look at what are they asking for in question B2. They said find the volume of the inside of the box and show that the volume of the wood is 8x squared plus 2x cubic centimeters. So they're wanting to know the volume of the wood. Volume of the wood would be how much space does the wood actually take up. Remember, this is an open box, so they say find the volume of the inside of the box. So I've looked at this equation, which is volume, and this is the volume that I've provided for, taking the thickness of the wood into consideration. Right, so let's have a look at the actual, this is squared, not cubed, that should be a 2, not a 3. Sorry, that was a typo or a error writing that number there. So what I've done so far is I've obviously provided for the centimeters in terms of thickness of the wood. I've times length times breadth times height is going to give me the internal dimensions of the box. I've got that term there representing that. I've got that representing, and I've got the x here. Then I multiplied out. So that was x squared plus 2x. Then I multiplied that out. So 2x cubed. 2x times 2x is 4x. Minus 2 times that is minus 2x squared. And then negative 2 times plus 2 is negative 4x. So those two amounts cancel out. I'm left with 2x cubed minus 2x squared. Great, so that's what I've got. So now I've got internal. Before I had external. That was the external volume of the box. So I've got one expression for external, and I've got another expression for internal. What did they say in B? They said find the volume of the inside of the box and show that the volume of the wood is 8x squared plus 12x cubic centimeters. Great, so now I'm obviously going to have to look at external, meaning how much space does the actual box take up as a whole. Then here we have the volume of the inside of the box, which while providing for the actual differences. So the external dimensions minus the internal dimensions is going to be what the wood is going to take up, the volume of the wood, because the volume of the wood is what's left over after I've taken away the internal from the entire space that the box takes up. So let me just draw that. Here's the box. We know the box has wood, okay, in terms of size, okay, 1 centimeter wood. We've got two equations. We've got the external volume, which is looking at the entire box, how much space does it take up, and then we've got the internal volume, which is looking at the actual space, the capacity, let's say, of the actual box. Obviously taking off the 1 centimeter thickness of the wood. So I've got external and internal. If I just subtract the two, that's going to give us the volume. So let's go back and let's go look at our equation. This was length times breadth times height. We obviously took the 2x, we multiplied it out, so we had 2x squared and 8x, and then we took that and we multiplied that out, which gave us 2x the cubed plus 2x squared plus 10x squared and then plus 8. Great, so I'm going to write that down, which was our equation, 2x cubed plus 10x squared plus 8x. That's obviously the external. And then we're going to have to less or subtract the internal capacity, which was this equation, 2x3 minus 2x squared. That's what I've got there, and those 4's cancelled because we had a plus 4 there and we had a minus 4 there. Great. So then if I subtract these two amounts, obviously 2x cubed minus 2x cubed is 0. 10x squared minus 2x squared is 8x squared, and obviously 8x plus nothing would be 8x, and that's what I would be left with. So that's looking at the actual dimension of the wood, because this was an open box, not a closed box. If it was a closed box, I would then have to provide for a lid. I'm not in this case because this box is open, and therefore that would be the actual space that the wood takes up. Let's continue. Let's have a look at the last question here, which is C1 states, show that 2x squared plus 3x minus 495 equals 0 and solve this equation. The volume of the wood is 1980 centimeters cubed. Show that 2x squared plus 3x minus 495 equals 0 and solve this equation. I need to solve the equation, so I'm going to write it down. 2x cubed squared plus 3x minus 495 equals 0. They want us to solve this equation. So I've got 2x plus 3x here, and I've got 495. Would I be able to factorize? It's going to be very difficult to factorize, so I'm rather going to use the quadratic equation for this particular question. I need more space on this side before I do the square roots. Okay, so I'm going to use the quadratic equation in order to do this calculation. My b value is 3 plus minus square root minus 3, well 3 squared minus 4a is 2, c is minus 495. Divide by 2a, which we now know a is 2, so 2 times 2. I'm going to simplify, so I'm going to grab the calculator and I'm going to solve for that square root. Let's see what we get. 3 squared is 9, so 9 minus 4 times 2 times 495, and that becomes a plus because a negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm going to get square root minus 3 plus minus square root of 3969 over 2 times 2 is 4. That is what x would equal to. So if I square root this answer of 3969, let's see what the calculator gives me. I get 63. So I'm going to have x equals minus 3 plus 63 over 4, or I'm going to have x equal to minus 3 minus 63 over 4, which equals, let's see what we get. So 63 minus 3 is 60. 60 divided by 4 is 15. And minus 63 minus 3 minus 3 minus 63 is obviously negative 66 divided by 4 gives you 60 negative 16 comma 5. Obviously we're dealing with wood here in terms of a solid product or item. It's not feasible to have a negative distance because here we're looking at x being a length because we were given the dimensions of the wood. So I wouldn't go with x being a negative, I would only go with x being a positive. So x for me would only be 15 because length needs to be positive. You can't have negative length. And then the final question, which is C2 here. C2 indicates that we should write down the external dimensions of the box. External dimensions. So external meaning what's outside the box. We actually wrote that earlier. We mentioned that external dimension of the box. But are they referring to this particular volume? Perhaps they just say write down the external dimensions of the box. Right. So now, are they referring to this new box here in terms of the different dimensions, or are they referring to the original? I would assume that they're referring to the original box. So then it would be the same as your first answer if they're looking at external dimensions. External dimensions would then be the 2x, volume equals 2x, length times breadth times height, times x plus 4 times x plus 1. Length times breadth times height. They said write on the external dimensions of the box. Yeah, I would go with that, unless they're requiring you to solve for a different box's dimensions. Maybe the volume that was given in C's initial information provided, which is the volume of the box is 1980 centimeters cubed. That's a possibility, but then we need more information regarding the length of each side in order to get that, which can be problematic. So there's not really a defined answer for C2 because it comes to interpretation. Are they referring to external dimensions of the box, which was actually given in the question? If we look at page, what page number is this? Page 59, page 60 actually, for the open box, and they actually state in the question that the rectangular box has external dimensions. So they've already described those dimensions, and then later on they tell you a bit more information about the thickness of the wood in B, and then C, the volume of the wood. That concludes this video. Thank you for watching, and please consider writing a comment. And if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up button, and we'll keep creating more videos to help you.